Guys, this is Lord Chael speaking on behalf of our show sponsor, Established Titles. Established Titles is a project based on a Scottish custom where landowners are referred to as lords and ladies. They allow you to buy as little as 1 square foot of dedicated land so you can officially call yourself a lord or a lady. Established Titles is not just about your ego. You also get to do some good. In addition to your new fancy title, Established Title supports global charities like One Tree Planet and Trees for the Future to help with the afforestation effort. Your title pack gets you at least 1 square foot of dedicated land in a private estate in Scotland. Your certificate features a unique plot number where you can see the exact location of your land. And right now, Established Titles is holding 200 plots of land right next to mine. So come join me in the Bad Guy Inc. Kingdom. Getting this certificate even allows you to officially change your name to Lord or Lady. Put it on your credit card, put it on your plane tickets, or if you're so inclined, put it on your dating profile. Makes for a great last-minute gift, and there's even couples packs that come with adjoining plots of land. Established Titles is having a great limited-time sale. Go to establishedtitles.com/Chael to save 10% off today. Remember to use the promo code Chael, or just click on the link below. Beneil Dariush, guys, I love to sit over here and second guess somebody else's marketing approach to their career. And right. I mean, we put class in session. I don't like to do that with Benny, and Benny makes a lot of mistakes. However, Benny gets a pass in large part from me. He didn't want to do it. That's not what he's trying to do. He didn't sit down with a strategy and come out with an angle. He didn't show up to a press conference knowing it was going to be asked questions. And he's got his foot in his mouth. Just not what he does. It's also not what he wants to do, though. He's not saying give me a whole bunch of money. He's not saying make me the main event. He's not saying any of those things. So it's very hard for me to get upset with him because the way he's handling things from a marketing standpoint, he's not going to be a main event. He's not going to be fighting for a title. He's not going to be a super coveted name. He's okay with that. I mean, do you see the difference, though? Do you see where there's no correction that I then come in with? I believe I speak about Benny more than any other voice that you go to in MMA. But I do that out of respect to him because I feel that we got to serve him in some way. When you have guys with these incredible skills, what do you do with them? Well, you try to get them recognized. Well, what do you do once you get them recognized? And that means signed to the UFC. What do you try to do? Well, you get them some feature matches. And real slowly over time, if you go about the way Benny goes, you'll even move up in the rankings, and eventually somebody will notice. I mean, I love to tell you guys that the rankings don't matter. I mean, I love to tell you that. But we have a lot of guys that are ranked in positions you're not aware of. We have a lot of guys with very high rankings that you would work your whole life for that are not main event guys and are never going to be. It's not just getting the rankings. When I tell you no one knows what the rankings are, I mean, I get pushback in my comment sections where as though you know what the rankings are. I got to tell you, I think you're a little bit of a weird guy. What do you mean you know where the rankings are? I've even gone as far as to say I don't know where the rankings are, and people will list it for me. UFC.com/rankings. They'll actually say it. How do you know that? How do you possibly have that memorized? That's weird. And then what do you do with it? And the only point that I'm trying to make is even when a guy gets a ranking, okay, having the ranking doesn't do a damn thing for you. That doesn't get you any money. You then have to have somebody like me notice that you have the ranking. It's a very interesting position, but here's what Benny's saying. I believe that Benny qualifies to fight for a world championship. I believe in any scenario, even with Benny not helping himself, any scenario that does not involve Volkanovski, Benny's going to get it. There's just an integrity to the sport at some point that we pay. We have the mandate of the masses, and that means attention, and that means media, and that's where the hype comes in. That's where it's really important. But we also have an integrity to the sport, and we will pay respect to that. We have somebody like Benny, guys, is at 8 in a row. Not to mention they were hammers. Not to mention he can do everything. I mean, this guy is so good. He is so good, but he came out and he did an interview today. He said, I don't care about the belt. I know who I am. I know what God put me on this earth to do. I'm not going to let my talents go to waste, and I'm not sitting around and waiting. And he didn't go any further than that. He not only said, I don't care about the belt. He didn't say, I want a feature match. He didn't say, I want more money. He didn't help himself and say, give me, and then say a name. He's very consistent. I mean, I got to give him that. He's very consistent. So what do you do with Benny? Because the integrity does matter. And he's got the ranking, and now he's got somebody to notice. Even if that's me and even if that's you guys, we matter, and we've noticed. Is Benny? Because see, yesterday I sat here and I told you, I think we need to do Chandler and Poirier and give a real good look at drawing that into Benny. But I've had a day to think about my own idea. Is Benny versus Oliveira the fight to make? Because one thing that hasn't been discussed is what do you do with Charles? Now, Charles made one statement, but I had there was some power on it for me. It was right before he left the cage, and he's heartbroken. He's absolutely heartbroken. He says, I've never asked for a favor. I've done anything you've ever wanted me to do. Please. He says this right to the UFC. He said, please, get me on the path to get back in here. I know we didn't use the path. I had that whole thing verbatim and I threw in path, but he did not go bang the drum. He did not demand a rematch. He did not call somebody specifically out. I mean, that will up your chances of getting it immensely. But all the same, if you were just the champion 2 weeks ago and you're no longer the champion, it would seem as though you're now the number one contender for your own belt. I mean, at least somewhere up there, right? So we got to do something meaningful with Oliveira. We're not going to use Poirier and Chandler to draw into Oliveira because there's no parity. And the only time you would do a rematch if it was on top of the card, meaning for the championship, which it is now not. So that one can't draw into Oliveira. It can draw into Benny. However, what if we're looking in the wrong direction? We just need to grab Benny and Oliveira. What else would you do with Charles? And if Benny was to go out and get the job, right? We're not calling him the number one contender. We're not putting him in these number one contender fights. We're putting him in some super hard fights that sooner or later, if we do this long enough, he's going to get beat. That's just the truth. That's an interesting match. Benny versus Oliveira is a very interesting match. And I'm taking Oliveira's own words. I mean, Benny's a hard night out. You're not going to get the attention. You're not going to get the money. You're not going to get a lot of the recognition. He's not going to do that side of it. However, if you beat him, you likely did just become the number one contender. So it's an interesting spot. And that's all Charles asked for. Give me the path. We don't have the power to do that, guys, but we sure have an opinion to then give to the power, don't we? I want to know what you think about it. I got to tell you, I love it. I was excited to tell you guys that Chandler versus Poirier should draw into Beneil Dariush. I sat 24 hours ago. I was excited to do that. I now don't even like the idea compared to Benny versus Charles. Seems like we just sorted everything out. Very uncommon in our sport. Not unheard of, uncommon that a guy winning takes on a guy coming off of a loss. But that rule changes when that guy coming off a loss is champion of the world. That rule changes when you're the top guys at the same time that somehow have avoided each other. That rule changes when we as a community, regardless of Benny not caring, he says he doesn't care. It really bothered me. But I'll tell you why. Not marketing. Saying I don't care wasn't Benny's way of caring and Benny's way of getting it through like a perverse reverse psychology. We'll see that many times. We'll know when it's being done. We'll even tip our hat to him. That was the right way to handle that situation. That's not what's happening here. Benny's being very sincere. Now, the only problem I have with that, well, good for a career. Well, good for the next so many times you get in a fisticuff on a Saturday night. I don't like the idea. God put him here to fight. Wait a second. What? God put you here to fight in the UFC at 155 pounds against the best? No, please don't do that. Please don't do that. But there's more to Benny. This is a husband. This is a friend. This is a teammate. This is a fight. No, he's not just here to fight. But I got to tell you, when guys start doing that, it starts to get slippery fast. When you say that I don't need the belt to tell me who I am. Well, what do we do now? Are you convinced you're the best? Wasn't that your goal in the first place? Okay, right off into the sunset. We will tell you who you are, just so you understand how this works. We will tell you, and we do pay a respect to whoever's got that belt. So there's a few things that have to come together here. I can't scold him. I love the match myself, guys. We're going to have to do the work on this one, okay? We're not going to have some fun. There's not going to be press conferences that are fun. We didn't have a fun press conference with Charles Oliveira yet, but he got over with you guys. Well, matter of fact, we find out that Charles Oliveira was one half of the biggest pay-per-view of 2022. He's over. So maybe he could stay quiet. Maybe Benny could stay quiet. We could talk about the language barrier. We could build a fight. We could do it off of integrity. We could do it off of sportsmanship. But we are going to have to do it, make no mistake. Jim Rome's not going to weigh in on this one, trust me. Lebitard's not weighing in. This ain't cutting into Sports Center. We are going to have to do it, which is why I'm coming to you. Benny versus Oliveira. What do you think?